cultures. Someone once said that language was created in order to lie. Well, I think that's very true, and cultures are the shock wave that forms in the wake of the leading edge of language. So all cultures are a lie of some sort. They are, T.S. Eliot in The Wasteland said, between the hope and the completion falls the shadow. And I think that the shadow, the personification of the shadow, is inevitably the cultural values in which we are embedded. And breaking through those cultural values seems to be something which can only be done by severely perturbing the neurological basis of cognition. In other words, by perturbing the neurochemistry of the cognizing brain. And whether the brain generates or receives cognition doesn't really have to concern us here. All shamans, all visionary shamans who use plants understand that it is the plants that cause the visions, that there is a relationship of cause and effect here. Breaking through to that dimension then, to my mind, introduces awareness of a reality outside of history. One way of thinking of shamanism is it is the exploration of hyperspace, or the exploration of eternity. In other words, that the shaman is someone who has seen the end, the beginning and the end, and so has a relationship to time which is characterized by effortless, appropriate activity. Effortless, appropriate activity is the consequence of having understood process on all scales of expression. And this, I think, is what shamanism is about. This is why shamans are able to heal, because this effortless expression of appropriate activity is the sine qua non for allowing the energy, the chi of heaven, to pass through the body as transmitter and into the world of causal efficacy. And I think this is what we want for ourselves as a culture, somehow. A return to effortless, appropriate activity instead of history, which is more like the myth of Sisyphus. I mean, it's tremendously laborious, utterly inappropriate activity, which grows daily more inappropriate. How then will the archaic revival deal with the historical momentum of the phonetic alphabet created, printing press reinforced, male-dominated set of cultural values that we all have inherited? Well, I think it has to begin in psychology. That the psychologists, it was Robert Oppenheimer, and perhaps it was apocryphal, but I don't think so, who said, the physicists, whatever may be said, know guilt. They know it because of what was done. He was talking about the bomb. Well, I think psychology, if not guilt, at least it has known triviality because it has abided in it far too long. The analogy that I like to make is to the telescope. The telescope did for astronomy what the psychedelic plants want to do for psychology and the study of cultural history. But in our case, the Inquisition is winning. In our case, silence is actually being reinforced. People are afraid to talk about these things. these matters can only be dealt with in the anthropological context or in the ratomorphic context, meaning you can give psychedelics to rats, you can go and observe people taking psychedelics in God knows where, but it cannot be brought into the laboratory, hardly to speak of the consulting room. And yet we are going mad with the accumulated pressure of neurotic activity. We know we have the money to feed everyone. We have the money and the scientific expertise to cure epidemic diseases. We have the cultural manas to create paradise. What we do not have is the brains to do it, the guts to do it, the imagination to do it. It is entirely a failure of imagination. The cultural renaissance that we are awaiting, the world revolution that we are praying for, has got to happen between people's ears. It isn't that we await a new technology or that we await a breakthrough to vast wealth. It's that we await a breakthrough to moral decency, to imagination, to pragmatism, to a vision of the bankruptcy of ideology. This is what we're waiting on. Well, way back in the middle 60s, when the psychedelic thing in the form of LSD was getting rolling, they settled on, at first, a phenomenological description of these things. They were simply called consciousness-expanding drugs. No one has ever seriously challenged this assertion that these psychedelics they expand your peripheral vision, trivial thing, but measurable by ophthalmologists. They increase your visual acuity, also measurable. They inspire linguistic activity, managerial envisioning of the control and projection of process and flow and complex activities. In other words, they synergize all the functions that we associate with consciousness. And consciousness is what we are lacking. And it's always shocking to me to realize how much consciousness we are lacking, because I go from one egghead watering hole to another, I mean, if not CIIS, then Esalen, then something else. But, let's bear in mind that 22% of the American people believe that the sun moves around the earth. 22%. Those are the people who are going to choose the next president on Tuesday. So, consciousness expansion, an enzyme which works on the imagination, a set of shamanic rituals which connect us back into the logos mind of the planet, plant hallucinogens which put us in touch with the Akashic records, whatever that may mean. It seems to mean simply the sum total record of everything that ever happened or might have happened. An ability to tap into this is of cardinal importance to our recovering from our infatuation with materialistic forces that a untrammeled history of devotion to monotheism has set loose on this planet. Partnership, responsibility, caring, these things which come so hard to us as a species would be second nature if we were operating on all cylinders. And all cylinders mean having correct and true images of what nature is, of what this planet is, of who we are, and of where we fit into this thing. It is not that we are omnipresent, omnipotent, egomaniacal barbarians turned loose to plunder, rape, kill, and pile up wealth for ourselves and our descendants. That model has now become toxic and is feeding back into the collectivity very rapidly in such a way that it's going to be a photo finish between planetary catastrophe and breakthrough to some kind of complete other cultural dimension of values and ways of relating to each other and anticipations of the future. Now, traditionally, societies have used the hyperdimensional nature of the psychedelic information field to navigate themselves into the future. By stifling that capacity in ourselves, we are turning ourselves over to people who will navigate the culture using a rear-view mirror. That's really what they are doing. I mean, the politician ideologue, which is the old style, is pitted against the pragmatic shaman manager. And the political ideologue always navigates from the past because ideology is the legacy of the past. Pragmatism is where you just deal with situations as they come up in a way that seems equitable. And there is now a global consensus for this kind of equity. Everybody knows that racism is a bad idea. Even the people who practice it feel defensive about it. It is indefensible. Whether you practice it or not, it is indefensible. The repression of the feminine is, I think, indefensible. A larger number of people feel guilty about it, but a larger number of people are practicing suppression of the feminine. But nobody gets up on a soapbox and preaches suppression of the feminine. I suppose that's going too far in this monkey pack. But it is absolutely an insane point of view, trumpeted only by people who would probably willingly self-describe themselves as fanatics. So there is, you see, a consensus about human values, even where human values are betrayed. And that consensus, global consensus on human values, is the place to begin to build. And the model that is most inviting, that holds the greatest promise, is the catalytic model that places a revisioning and a re-understanding of these psychedelics center stage. The reason for this is, as I said earlier, they are catalysts. We don't have 500 years to straighten this mess out. We are caught in some kind of technological singularity. We are in a vortex of cultural change like nothing that has ever been seen on this planet. And anyone who talks about long-term solutions doesn't understand the depth of the crisis. There are no long-term solutions. There have to be short-term solutions because there is only a short term. Because history has ineluctably set in motion processes that cannot be stopped, like the extraction of metals from the planetary surface, the expansion of population, the extraction of petroleum byproducts, the dissolution of the ozone in the atmosphere, the clearing of land, the rise in carbon dioxide levels. It's very, very hard to imagine a scenario where old-style solutions will have any impact on these things. I mean, does someone seriously believe that committees of scientists, managers, and capitalists are going to, at the last minute, pull this out of the fire? I don't think so. I think that rather we are being thrown back on our own devices. There is going to have to be a radical transformation. That means it's going to come out of the bone and sinew of the species. It is not going to come out of the software, the languages, the philosophies, the manipulatory theories. It's not a software fix we're talking about. It's a hardware fix. And no less a venerable commentator on culture than Arthur Koestler concluded after a lifetime of dealing with these problems that probably the only serious solution was some kind of chemical rewiring of the monkey, that we were simply too aggressive, too into hierarchies, too into enforcing male dominance with violence in child-rearing situations, so forth and so on. Well, I think that this self-medication into sanity should not be turned over to the drug designers and the pharmaceutical companies, God forbid, because what they will give us are tranquilizers or antidepressants. Or that's not what we need. What we need is a morphogenetic field amplifier that plugs us into the ecological stream that is emanating from the planetary ecology, which is imperiled. And the morphogenetic field amplifiers are these psychoactive substances in plants. That is, in fact, what they are doing there. I maintain they have synergized the historical process. They have synergized our language-forming and symbol-forming capacity for a purpose which is locked somehow to the fate of the planet and all life upon it. A purpose which may not be cognizable to human beings. In other words, it is nowhere writ in adamantine that we are to understand the role we are to play. Simply that we are to play it. And what has been unleashed first by life and its ascendancy through higher phylogeny, and then by ourselves through the invention of culture, what has been released on this planet is language, self-replicating, self-imaging codes running wild. First, the hardware codes of the DNA, which create proteins, and then the epigenetic codes, the codes that are formed by books and paintings and song and dance, and finally the cybernetic codes, which are also epigenetic codes, but which expand mind into domains of time that were previously closed to it. History, in a way, can be seen as an exercise in the expansion of mnemonic capacity, which finally crosses some kind of incredibly quantized barrier with the ability to create solid-state databases where essentially no information need necessarily be lost. So information is self-replicating, self-imaging, and loose on this planet. Biology is its matrix. Culture is its matrix. But whether it is biological, whether it is culture, we cannot know. One of the great puzzles, then, of the psychedelic experience is, why then is it experienced as this tremendous release of information? Information as visual impression, information as audio impression. It's as though the real nature of reality is as the nature of cognition, the logos, thought, pure, undifferentiated, pre-syntactical self-reflection. And then out of that evolves codes of self-description, which create then epiphenomenal codes of commentary upon themselves, so that really reality is more like literature and its exegesis. History is like a footnote on biology. The individual is like a bibliographic addenda upon the main text of humanity. This informational quality of becoming is reinforced by the psychedelic experience, and feeds back into the eventual perception that we are somehow spirit, image, not things of matter, but things of light and position. In other words, that we are capable as cognitive agents of becoming the thing beheld. This was the great hope of Aristotelianism, so often forgotten in our easygoing Platonism, that the cognitive agent becoming the thing beheld was the apotheosis of the Aristotelian method. And at the end of history, it looms as a cultural program which we could complete if we would but carry it out. How? This we do not yet know, because we are not yet close enough to the final denouement of this play. But we are definitely deep into the third act. The elements are assembling. Cyberspace, psychedelic, the rediscovery of psychedelic shamanism, the putting together of a vast network of cybernetic information transfer and control mechanisms on the surface of the planet, the creation of the global village of information where events in Kabul and Sydney and Tierra del Fuego are conveyed everywhere within minutes after they happen. What all this is the process of spirit separating itself from the placenta of organic organization. It is what history was for and about. History is some kind of gestation, some kind of pregnancy of matter, almost an alchemical process out of which comes the philosopher's stone or the revivified homunculus, a transcendental union of opposites, a coincidentia oppositorum that somehow then is able to transcend the limitations and dichotomies that comprised its components, you see, because it is a coincidentia oppositorum. It does maintain within itself the character of contradiction. You know, Marshall McLuhan said, a pun is a sphere of meaning whose center is nowhere and whose edge is everywhere. Well, this is a reasonable description of human history as well. As the sphere of understanding expands, the surface area of ignorance asymptotically expands in front of it. That's what the adventure of becoming is about. And what I want to place before you tonight is the central role that psychedelic shamanism has played in triggering this process of self-reflection in early primates, in sustaining the cultural enterprise through its many adumbrations, leading us to make the leap into history, into the realm then of cyberspace, of solid-state information transfer, of being able as cognitive agents to become the thing beheld. This is, I think, the great promise that it holds out for us. It's also a great challenge, and a hell of a fight looms ahead, because this is a historical watershed of greater implications than the shift from the manuscript culture of the late medieval period to the world of print, a greater shift from the hieroglyphic scripts of the ancient Near East to the world of the phonetic alphabet. This is, in fact, the historical payoff, the jackpot that can redeem the historical experience, which otherwise has to be assessed as a complete bust. And it's going to rest upon us, I think, the people alive now and in the next 25 or 30 years, to integrate the traditions, figure out what people in all times and places have been trying to say about the other, about the transcendent and the transpersonal, and then to forge a social philosophy, a shamanic technology of transcendence, whether extraterrestrial or cybernetic or there are many, many possible scenarios, but the philosophical foundations must rest in doing honor to the integrated and complete face of nature, which is ultimately psychedelic, ultimately feminine, ultimately boundary dissolving, ultimately liberating. So why don't we take a break and I'll answer questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're floating in space. 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 Ladies and gentlemen, we're floating in space.
Wash all over me. Let the light be forever green. I'm playing with fire if you know what I mean. I need someone to help me turn it on. Driving past down a one-way street, love you dance from me. Baby, touch your hit the sky. Baby, touch me, make me fly. I said, electricity, 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 turn it on.
I don't even feel it, but Lord, how I need it. When I'm not with her, I'm not all myself. Sometimes have my breakfast right off of the mirror, and sometimes I'll have it right out of a bottle. Come on, come on, I'm gonna rip it up, tear it out, gotta get it off of my soul. I don't even miss you, but that's 'cause I'm fucked up. Sure when it will